up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonderkid, episode 147. Here with my guy, Breton. How are you?
I'm beaming from ear to ear, Alex. We're filming this after that amazing 1-2 in the Premier League, Manchester City versus Liverpool. That was just an amazingly fun match to watch, and it just makes you love football, makes you smile,
No,
right? It really does, but.
Mhm.
But we got so much to talk about. I mean, not just them, but Inter. We're going to try and project England's 11 in the Euros, or what's their best 11, and whether or not it's good enough to win the Euros. We're going to talk about best signings. We got a lot to delve into. I understand, though, you and me, my voice might sound a little different. I'm fighting something here, but you're just like flat out sick, aren't you, Alex?
I'm a bit sick on this podcast, but I got to do the podcast every single week because we have the best community on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Go bold and follow us on all those socials. But I got to say, we got to start with the Premier League. The title race right now is absolutely bonkers. And it's greatness when we saw Liverpool against Man City. The last match between Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola. It's poetic that it ends in a 1-1 draw because they match themselves in these two eras. Jurgen Klopp is the last manager to win a Premier League title against Man City, and he is the last manager to win the Bundesliga against the Bayern Munich. The era of Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool is beautiful, and it's going to be very hard to replace. So I love this game. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. And before we delve into it, I've got a fun little stat for you. That was Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola's 30th meeting as managers, right? We know that their history goes back to the Bundesliga a couple times. Obviously, it extends to the Champions League and other competitions like FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. But that was their 30th meeting together. And some of you might be surprised to know that Jurgen Klopp has the lead. It's very, very narrow. It is 11 wins to Pep's 10 wins, and today was their 9th draw. So how even is that? Like, how even is that? We know that, like, Manchester City has gone stratospheric. They're in pursuit of their 4th Premier League title in a row. They're 6th in the last 7 years, which is just unprecedented, obviously. But we also know Jurgen Klopp has transformed Liverpool to the point where, Alex, they played with, amidst an injury crisis, they played with two guys that were on loan for Bolton and Bristol Rovers in like the 3rd tier of English football just last year. And I don't know, could you tell me where Erling Haaland was today?
True.
I didn't see him.
Only one touch inside Liverpool's box right there. And I do think Erling Haaland's world class, and I do think he's the best striker in the world when he's in form. But it's these moments that we want to see Haaland score these goals. Champions League finals, Champions League semifinals, games against the Liverpool in the Premier League, games that you will be remembered. And I do think he's still developing, so I think it's criticism that he needs to hear towards becoming a better player, that we can see the potential. But I wanted to mention on City's end, John Stones is mega reliable. John Stones is world class. And John Stones must start for England in Euro 2024. What he has done in a new position with Pep Guardiola, the interceptions, the anticipation, the intelligence, only a player like Stones could do what he's doing at City. Stones, Rodri's still unbeaten. More than 60 games. Rodri, for me, definitely, and whoever disagrees with it, you have no ball knowledge, top 3 player in the Premier League. The importance he has. All Man City's losses this season were without Rodri. 4 losses. And when he's playing, 60, as we mentioned. Yeah. So I wanted to give Stones and Rodri a shout-out.
I know you said one of 3 of the top players in the Premier League. I'm going to say it because obviously there is another DM that had a phenomenal weekend this weekend that we'll talk about shortly. Rodri is still the best DM in the Premier League. He is still the best DM. Like, there's no Arsenal fans, just stop right now. But yeah, Declan Rice is definitely on the rise. But we'll talk about him in a second because you're right. That John Stones, I mean, how fantastic was it, Alex, that it was like a corner taken quickly kind of rebuttal, right? It was their own version of it. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne had to thread that ball perfectly so that it didn't cross the line. Nathan Ake, who had great awareness on this and bad awareness later in the game, was able to box out McAllister, and John Stones was just there to just tap it in, as Happy Gilmore says. Adam Sandler reference there. But that was in the 23rd minute, and right after that, my first thought was, okay, here's this back line of Gomez, of Van Dijk, of Jarrell Quansah, and Connor Bradley in probably the biggest fixture of theirs to date.
Yep.
And here it comes. Like, here comes the onslaught, the Manchester City onslaught. And they held it even until halftime. And man, did they come out rip-roaring. They got Klopp behind them, and they were just phenomenal. But you're right. John Stones is going to be absolutely key for England in Euros. But we'll talk about that later.
And Liverpool.
I mean, what else?
And Liverpool in this sense too. People forget Liverpool last season, they were fighting in four fronts until not last season, 2 seasons ago. They were fighting in four fronts. This season, Liverpool is fighting to win 4 titles, the quadruple. I'm not going to say it's going to happen 100%, but they're fighting for it. They win the League Cup. But they're the favorites towards winning the Europa League. They're one of the contenders to winning the Premier League. Same points as Arsenal. And in the FA Cup, they have a real chance. This is the golden era of Jurgen Klopp and the Liverpool 2.0 with a Quansah, with a Connor Bradley, with a Harvey Elliott, with a Curtis Jones, and lots of academy products gaining a lot of importance with Klopp in this last season. Madness.
Absolutely. And just for people to reflect on this was a team without Alisson. It was a team that started with Mo Salah on the bench. It was a team without Alexander-Arnold, no Joel Matip, no Diogo Jota, unfortunately injured again, no Gravenberch, no Thiago, no Curtis Jones, no role players in Ben Doak, no role players in Stefan Bajcetic, who unfortunately, since he broke out, has only been injured. It just goes to show that there's just a influence that we've talked about that pervades from Jurgen Klopp, and it's going to be really interesting to see him not be on that Liverpool sideline. So absolutely, I think in this draw, this was a Liverpool win. It was a Liverpool win in the draw. I mean, I still think there's too much injury here for Liverpool to really, really pour it on to the end of the season, unless they get some breakout, like crazy performances from these young kids, or Alisson comes back hot, Salah comes back hot. I mean, Salah looked good, but it was Luis Diaz's day to be had. I mean, he was so crafty and shifty on the ball, so wonderful. It's just a shame that he didn't get the goal that he likely deserves. And I know some people will say it was sitters, it was things he should have been able to take care of. He was the best player in the match for me, even in spite of those big missed chances. That's a good one too.
But Darwin too. Darwin in this game against Man City, he stepped up. Yes, he didn't score, but Darwin needs to do these things in these matches. Darwin is the replacement of Luis Suarez and Cavani in the Uruguayan national team. Darwin can go very bold in the Copa America with Bielsa. Darwin, in my opinion, is a top 10 striker in the world, and Darwin in the next couple of seasons in the Premier League, I in fact believe he will have consistently more than 25 goal contributions per season. A bit like Son, that is consistent always. I think Darwin can get there, and he's got the physical capability. He's got the read of the game for his power and what he does, and the first touch of him, he's starting to improve it. And something I'm mad critical. Not the first touch shooting, because he's one of the best doing that, but the first touch dribbling. He's very problematic when he does that. And he's improved this season in that end. So, yeah. And Kelleher. Kelleher, once again, no Alisson. We had Kelleher, the best goalkeeper of Ireland. I love Bazunu, but Kelleher is the future of Ireland, and he's just getting started. I am very curious on what's going to happen with Kelleher, because Alisson, obviously, one of the best Premier League goalkeepers ever, he's got to start when he comes back. So what's going to happen with Kelleher? Interesting.
And we will talk about the other person I think that's just massively underrated right now. We said it last week. We've been saying it ever since he moved over from Brighton, but Alexis McAllister for me. Absolutely. Alexis McAllister for me. has been the beating heart of Liverpool's midfield at the moment. So I'm going to be really, really interested. Well, hold on. Let me just back this up for a second, because if I think you or I went back to the beginning of this season and we said, hey, with 10 games left, okay, you have Arsenal at the top by goal difference. You have Liverpool on the exact same points. I think it's 64, right? And you've got
64.
Manchester City at 63. Would you have expected an actual 3-horse race this close?
I expected it because I think Arsenal have a more mature team. The team that's surprising me the most in all this is Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp because of the trust he's putting on youngsters. But he won a League Cup with the youngsters. And that's a pretty historic fact that they did.
Achievement.
So I understand where you're coming from, but I do think a lot of people expected a stronger Arsenal this season. And why is Arsenal a stronger team this season? 100% is because of Declan Rice. Declan Rice is the anchor in defense. Declan Rice is the best midfielder, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League next to Rodri, in my view. And Declan Rice is now scoring goals too. The importance that he's having at Arsenal is magnificent. And you don't see people saying Declan Rice wasn't worth the transfer. Nobody says it because he was worth the transfer. He must start for England, and he's an icon in the making for Arsenal. I'm going to put him in that conversation. He's going to win titles with Arsenal, and Arteta knows that. Imagine if Declan Rice had gone to City. Imagine. That would have been a cheat code. Rodri and Declan Rice. But Arsenal made what had to be done and signed one of the best English talents in midfield in the past 10 years.
Yeah, they also got Gvardiol. I'm in agreement, but there was no guarantee that Declan Rice. Okay, there's 2020 vision now looking back, right, Alex? There's 2020 vision now looking back, but now it looks like West Ham. Declan Rice was absolutely indispensable. He was the beating heart of West Ham. Yes. There's no doubt, even with the price tag, whether it was 50 or 150, right? There's no doubt that he's going to just walk into that Arsenal side and make it all his own. But he's playing kind of a different role in many respects for Arsenal. And he is just immediately, like seamlessly, taking that leadership position, and also the consistency. I mean, he's had bad games, but he hasn't had howlers, right? He hasn't been a terrible person. He's been
Arsenal is one of the best teams in the Prem in terms of set pieces. Who made them one of the best teams in set pieces? It was Arteta, and obviously Declan Rice. The signing, the leadership in corners, it's been absolutely instrumental. World class. Anyone that says he's not world class, I think they're lying.
And anyone that doesn't see a team that can absolutely go on to win this Premier League is also not staring directly at what I'm staring at right now. 6 goals on the season for Declan Rice. Ben White is rapidly rising in kind of love from me. He had 2 assists on the day, 5 assists this season, adding better service to his arsenal for Arsenal since he moved from Brighton. And guess what? At some point, somebody has to look at Mikel Arteta and his staff and say, they've gotten quite a bit out of Kai Havertz. They really have. And they have figured out how to use him. I mean, he's got to deserve some love for that. He's got 4 goals, 3 assists in his last 4 games, just to update that. 7 goal involvements in his last 4 Premier League matches. And Havertz just finds his way to helping them beat the teams that they have to beat, which is a massive part, obviously, of the Premier League. But he beat Brentford away, and he beat Brentford home. Give him some love for that, people. But giving Aaron Ramsdale the chance, was nice to see. And it was also nice to see what Mikel Arteta's words were afterwards for him. He's a perfectly good goalkeeper. He is, in my opinion. That lost his job and was rusty and made a bad judgment. And Arteta is 100% correct. It was not about the mistake. It was all about the reaction. And he reacted phenomenally, and Arsenal reacted phenomenally. And that was a team that was 3 points they needed. And they got it done. But Alex, like this team is not built just for last season, is not built for just this season. This team is also built for the many seasons to come.
Yep.
Their largest contributors this season are 25 and younger. Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, Gabriel, Saliba, Gabriel Martinelli, Havertz, all 25 and younger, right? No. And that and just tells you that this team is... Yeah, and you're right. I forgot about him. He's only 22. Jurrien Timber. And they're going to be able to open the pocketbooks a little bit. But they're going to have to play with a false nine probably the rest of the season, I think. Because it's working right now.
I don't like that,
I know you
but
don't.
It's what they have to deal with. And Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz, I was impressed with their movements against Brentford because they needed that goal, and they got it. But I wanted to give you a heads up on this. In 2024, Arsenal has 8 Premier League wins in a row. 33 goals scored, only 4 suffered. They need to beat Porto in the Champions League their next game. They need to beat Man City in their next Premier League game. And if they do just that, they're one of the favorites towards winning the Premier League, obviously. And people will start putting them in the conversation towards winning the Champions League if they can impress in the Emirates. If they can impress. Which I'm
going to take that... I'm going to take that form and that stat one step further for you, Alex, because it's a great, great start to 2024. I think only Inter is much hotter this season, winning all of their games as well.
Inter and Arsenal.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But Arsenal having won the first 8 league games of the calendar year, the previous 3 teams that have done that all went on to win the title.
But that's an Arsenal stat to get wrong, right?
It is. But Manchester United did it in 2009, Liverpool in 2020, Man City in 2021. I honestly wouldn't think too much into it, Arsenal fans, but it is an interesting one. It does make you think.
It is.
It is.
I agree with you with that. And I do agree with you that the core, the foundations of this Arsenal team will not disappear because Arteta has done a phenomenal job. I don't put Arteta in the top 5 managers in the world, but I have to respect the greatness that he's building at Arsenal. He clearly loves the club. The energy of Emirates is different. He's got players that don't want to leave the team. They want to stay and become legends in this team. Odegaard, Saliba, Saka, and he's guiding them playing beautiful football. So I like Arteta.
Needs a trophy.
But exactly, he wins a trophy. He needs a trophy. Completely agree with what you just said. And needing a trophy is another conversation for another London team, and that is Tottenham. But for me, Aston Villa struggled at home. No, Aston Villa beat City at home, beat Liverpool at home. Yes, they lose to Man United, and now they lose to Tottenham. So their top 4 opponents are taking the best out of them at home. This is not looking good for Unai Emery. I think the 5 at the back, I was pretty surprised with what he did just there. And there's a stat too. No more Harry Kane at Tottenham. For me, the best player I've ever seen at Tottenham, and Gareth Bale was pretty special. But this season, we have 4 Premier League players for Tottenham involved in 10+ goals. We have Brennan Johnson, Son, Richarlison, and James Maddison. That is development, and that's why Ange Postecoglou is doing a great job. Because Brennan Johnson was not a big player. He signs him, and he becomes a big player with him. And another player is Vicario. Vicario is one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. Vicario is going to Euro 2024, and Vicario, 100% pass accuracy. 100% pass accuracy, Vicario. Nobody talks about Hugo Lloris. Vicario is the guy at the back at Tottenham.
Poor Hugo Lloris has got snow mounting on his head as he takes in the wonderful wilderness of Salt Lake City in Utah, while Vicario has seamlessly taken over that Spurs squad. But Vicario actually has said in past interviews that Hugo Lloris has given him so much counsel, so much love for that next role, because he's a class dude, right? But Vicario, I think, as we get into talking about the best signings of the season, I think he's underrated, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Absolutely underrated for the fee that was spent, and a wonderful job at talent identification, because the role that they're using him in, with you mentioned 100% passing accuracy, right? He was not really being used in that role at Empoli, right? Empoli was more a just kick it, just go, just run. So it's It's great. He was a shot stopper. So now they've added this to his arsenal. He's worked on it, and it's another thing. It's like maybe earlier days than what Mikel Arteta started building, but you can see it happening with Big Ange. People are buying into Big Ange ball, and they're playing a distinctive style. They're playing a really exciting style, and they put Arsenal. They put Aston Villa to the sword even before John McGinn got sent off in the 65th minute. So this wasn't some like, oh my gosh, McGinn got sent off and they got a couple lucky goals and then the floodgates open. No. They had him against the ropes early on. And yeah, it was one of the first times in a while that I've seen Unai Emery kind of look like, well, what do I do now?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, great stuff.
Well pointed out. Ange Postecoglou is, for me, one of the managers of the season, no doubt, for the responsibility that he's doing at Tottenham when Harry Kane leaves, 100%. And Heung-min Son, 21 goal involvements this season in all competitions. He's got 159 goals scored for Tottenham. This is a legend. And what I love about Son, he loves Tottenham, and Tottenham loves him. And that's what you love to see in football. I'm not saying he's like Totti for Roma, but the recognition and the fact that he goes to Hamburg, he goes to Leverkusen, and then when he goes to Tottenham, he just stays because he's happy there. The lifestyle he wants and the team that he wants to. So don't sleep on Tottenham. Next season, maybe fighting for the top 3. Mickey van der Ven, top baller. Then you have players like Udogi that has been phenomenal. Pedro Porro. If they sign the right players once again, Tottenham, this summer, no, don't be surprised if Ange Postecoglou will finish ahead of a Man United next season. We'll finish maybe ahead of a Liverpool if their new manager doesn't work out next season. Let's wait and see. Do you expect that?
Well, I do expect that, and I agree with you. And I wish we could go back in time and mend whatever happened to James Maddison, so we could have had him there because I definitely believe that if Maddison was not injured for the long period of time that he was injured, if Van de Ven didn't get injured, I really feel Spurs would be higher in this table.
I'm with you.
I don't know if they'd be, 64, 63, but they'd definitely be closer than the 8 points or 9 points that separate them right now. So definitely a team to watch. I just wonder if it's one of those situations, if you spend the summer kind of watching what Big Ange does, I wonder if it's a team that next season will be like found out. But then you look at the class that they have in this. Like Cuti Romero on his best day is one of the best center backs in the world. Sorry, I said
not better than
right?
Van Dijk.
No. But on his best day.
It's true.
On
his
best day.
And Romero is one of the best center back duos in the Premier League. Yeah. Whoever says that, they're disrespecting not just Romero, a World Cup winner, but Mickey van der Ven too. One of the best signings in the Premier League this season. Everybody's thinking, why didn't he go to Liverpool? Completely agree with your point right there. 4-0 win by Tottenham. That's a statement, and that's what makes a team like Tottenham be, in my eyes, favorite towards getting that 4th place ahead of a Villa and a Man United. It's not looking too good. Is there anything you wanted to mention in the Premier League that we haven't?
Nothing necessarily out of the ordinary.
Draw to Burnley? That's quite out of the ordinary.
It's too much. It's too much for me to even process that particular game. It was nice to see Burnley wake up a little bit. And all I have to say about that game, David Datro Fofana. Let's see who else. Kai Havertz scored over the weekend. Tell me what draws all these guys together. Christian Pulisic scored this weekend for AC Milan. Also scored midweek by stealing Rafa Leao's goal, right? And also, Timo Werner for Spurs all scored. What do they all have in common, Alex?
They all played for Chelsea. Where is Mason Mount, though? Where is Mason Mount, though? In which we want to see more of Mason Mount, and I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe will want to bet on Mason Mount, one of the star boys of England. But mentioning, we mentioned at the start of this episode, best signings of each league, the top 5 leagues. And we may be going to mention an Eredivisie, Liga Portugal, because there's a lot of talent in all these leagues. Let us know who are the signings of the season on each of these leagues in the comment section down below on YouTube, and go bold and like this video. Starting with the big league. So Premier League signing of the season is...
There's no fight for me. I had no problems writing this name down. It's Declan Rice. He hasn't had a continued slump in form at all this season. He's had, like I said, most consistent player, walked into that 11. And listen, there is an expectation when you spend 100 million on a player for a lot of this to happen.
True.
But for how seamlessly he has become a leader in that setup, a growing title contender. Rice is absolutely more than lived up to that price tag. And we also have to look at the history of $100 million signings. They very often don't pan out like that.
True.
And there is nobody that can tell me that they have not gotten their money worth already, and it's just starting. He's unflappable. He's undroppable. He's indispensable. Declan Rice, for me, ekes out quite a few others that I definitely want to talk about, but I got to hear yours. Yours is, there's no difference here, is there?
There's no difference. Declan Rice, for me, is the Premier League signing of the season. I put the Tottenham players of it, James Maddison, Mickey van de Ven, Vicario, worthy shouts in the top 3, but another player that is underrated for the importance he has, in my opinion, is Kudus. Kudus has done a terrific job at West Ham. For me, he's one of the signings too of the season. And I want to mention at the end, I got to mention the fullbacks, the young fullbacks that for me were incredibly good signings this season. Udogie, I know, didn't sign this season, but Udogie first came to the Premier League this season. Kerkez, wonderful signing too. And Tino Livramento, a future left fullback of Newcastle. I love what I'm seeing from the Premier League because the scouting is at the highest level in the Premier League. That's why Liverpool need Edwards, which I think is going to happen.
I'm with you, Madison in particular, but I got to name the Liverpool guys as well, who have both dealt with some injuries. But McAllister in particular, just watching him go from Brighton, him being one of my favorite players there, to to coming in and I think this second half of the season is already off to a ridiculously blistering start for him. Has earned and put all uncertainties about him aside, but you mentioning Kudus makes me also have to mention Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer just needed a stage, just needed to be the star, and the only reason he's probably not farther up on this list is simply because as of right now he's playing for a mid-table team. But whatever solution comes in the future for Chelsea getting back to being, say, a UCL contending team, a Premier League contending team, it involves Cole Palmer. So that is it's insane to think that is one of 35 signings they've made. And that's the only one you can look at and say, hands down, best signing. Period,
I agree.
I
agree. With the importance he's having with Pochettino, I thought Nkunku was going to be that player. And I'm a bit sad that that's not the case. But let us know, do you disagree? Do you agree with our statements? And Rasmus Winter-Højlund. Rasmus Winter-Højlund has won a Player of the Month award in the Premier League in February. He's been instrumental for Man United. He's the striker that Man United needed. In my point of view, he's still young, but he's got the key factors to develop. Rasmus Winter-Højlund got a Premier League Player of the Month award ahead of De Bruyne. That will forever be the case, and that is absolutely mad that that's the case. But going from Premier League, I think we should go La Liga because there was another 100 million signing. We said Declan Rice was the best signing in the Premier League. I think we're going to agree too. La Liga's best signing was Jude Bellingham. Galactico straight off the bat, immediate impact, one of the candidates towards winning the Ballon d'Or, and I would put Artem Dovbyk in the shouts of one of the best signings in La Liga. Do you agree?
I have no qualms with that. I have nothing with that. But Jude Bellingham, I mean, again, there's the expectation that happens. And again, if you look at the history of 100 million euro signings, very rarely do they hit. Very rarely do they hit in twos. Both Jude Bellingham, both Declan Rice must also extrapolate here that both of those players, obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, are going to be starting in the central midfield for England at the upcoming Euros.
Where does Jude Bellingham play? We're going to talk more about that next. But who in La Liga would you put in that conversation too? Savio for Girona? Quite magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely been magnificent. Savio, though, on loan. I'm more intrigued about what his future looks like, but listen, hey, Girona, everyone thought they'd fall by the wayside now. They're still 1 point ahead of Barcelona. Technically, they're still in the running for the La Liga race. It would take a massive Real Madrid kind of blow up, but I don't necessarily see that happening. Although like 3 draws in their last 5 or 6 games, what's going on?
True.
Ancelotti, come on, man. But no, Jude Bellingham, I think just takes the cake. Artem Dovbyk, and I'm trying to think of who else on that Girona team is new and brought in. I mean, I guess Saigankov has been great for him.
Miguel Gutierrez.
And Miguel Gutierrez.
Eric Garcia, surprisingly.
From La Fabrica.
Top. I'd put maybe Jan Couto in that conversation too. I know it's City group player, but he was on loan to Braga. And I managed to see something I wanted to mention in the podcast. Because I extremely disagree with this Brazilian commentator that said the statement, Jan Couto and Savio 100% deserve to be in the Brazil national team. Whoever goes against that statement, they clearly don't watch European football and only watch Brasileirão. Savio's going to Man City, and Jan Couto is one of the best right backs in La Liga. They clearly just saw the game of Real Madrid, that Vinicius Jr. saw that purple hair and said, this is not going to be your night, Jan Couto. So if you judge him just by that game, I understand that you don't rate him a lot. But Wanderson and Jan Couto are the future right backs of Brazil. Wanderson of Monaco. Yeah. Remember the name of this player.
And as you just mentioned, it's a weakness. It's a weakness of Brazil. So they want them to not just develop now. They want them to develop fast. Very fast. But I think the biggest surprise coming from La Liga, Jude Bellingham, obviously great. Dovbyk, great. But is the lack of transfers that have hit. I mean, I'm looking at it. Vermeeren's still young. Vitor Roca is still young. That just happened. Ilkay Gundogan, depends on who you ask. I think he's been more of a net positive, obviously, for Barcelona.
Isco for Betis. Club legend.
Isco. There you go. But like looking down here, come on, Pablo Fornals, Gonçalo Guedes, Boubakary Samari, Jonathan Bamba, Kaglar Soyuncu, Abde. Abde, remember him?
Good player.
Cesar Montes, Loic Bade, Alexander Sorloth is probably the only other one that I would say has been a real success. All the other ones have been I mean, that's all I got to say.
I get where you're coming from.
There's a lack of winners.
And the money. The money in La Liga isn't the money in the Premier League. So they have to get cheap players. And an Artur Vermaelen for me to Atletico is a masterclass deal. And another deal that's only going to happen next season, it's Alvaro Jaló leaving Braga to Atletico de Bilbao. A lot of people say Nico Williams is now going to leave a 50 million release clause. How does Nico Williams have a 50 million release clause? If he stays in Bilbao, I'll be shocked. And he just shows the passion that he has playing next to his brother. That is also a beautiful, beautiful thing to happen in football. But yes, Alvaro Jaló, I think he comes to replace a Nico Williams that is going to depart.
Yeah,
but now, departs, signings, we need to go to a Bundesliga that I think the signing of the season of the Bundesliga must be a Bayer Leverkusen player. I'm not going to give it to Harry Kane with Bayern Munich. I am not going to give to Eric Dyer. I'm going to give or to Grimaldo or to Boniface, or Arsenal fans are going to love me, Xhaka, one of the top players and progressive passers in the top 5 leagues. Xhaka has been very important towards an unbeaten team still. Leverkusen is still unbeaten. They had a bit of a scare, 2-0 down at halftime in the Europa League, but guess what? They come back. And I would love to be a fly inside that locker room when Xabi Alonso speaks at halftime. 2-0 down, but they still come back. They were 3-0 down another game against Bayern Munich, and they still came back. So that's the greatness of Xabi Alonso.
And that was a heavily rotated team, and he made the changes, and it happened. And they're doing it with injuries themselves, and that's what's amazing about this. Like my top Bundesliga signing, I know you. I didn't know you were going to mention Granit Xhaka, but obviously he's way up there. I think that's a really underlooked, phenomenal leadership signing for them, and that totally has the fingerprints of Xabi Alonso all over it. Exactly. But I think I have to throw out that it's Alejandro Grimaldo. Like I don't think this gets done right. With its consistency, I don't think Frimpong has the season that he's currently having. If it's not for Alejandro Grimaldo and how he fits in Xabi Alonso's style of play, and then you add the finances into it, and they bring him in on a free, and you're talking about it's not just Xabi Alonso that deserves credit here. It's Simon Rolfs, who is the managing director for them, only 42 years old, only retired several years ago. And guess what, Alex? Here, it's not really digging. I looked over when Bayer Leverkusen last won the title. It was 2010, 2011.
No,
they won the Bundesliga.
No, Leverkusen have never won a Bundesliga title.
Yeah, they have.
No, they haven't.
Then what did they win? What am I looking at here?
Place. They got a second place.
It's a runner-up. Okay, well, guess who was the captain then?
Oh, Rolf. And Ballack
was Rolf.
And Ballack had a tough team too with Leverkusen, and he didn't manage to win.
That's right.
What I mean.
So Leverkusen.
Xabi Alonso is absolutely mad. He goes to a team that has no Bundesliga history towards winning it. He goes to a team that doesn't win a title in 30 years, and he makes it the only unbeaten team in the top 5 leagues in all competitions. It's mad.
That's true.
The work that he's doing. It's. I'm not gonna say he's next like Timothy Chalamet and Dune, like a messiah,
right.
but I'm gonna say that he is the reason why this is happening, and I love the shout of Rolf. But I think another player that must be mentioned too in all this is Xavi Simons. Even though it's on loan, Xavi Simons makes this RB Leipzig team be a threat against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, and obviously goes bold in the Bundesliga. For me, no doubt one of the best players in the Bundesliga this season. Wirtz is the best.
Wirtz, but come on. Harry Kane, too. Another $100 million man making his way. We'll talk about his statistics in the Bundesliga in a little bit, but you gotta. He's doing what he was brought in to do, scoring goals and winning over the locals. But it's funny that Kim Min-jae, not really. I mean, one that's kind of way a little bit down the pike. Faraz Chaibi. If you don't know his name, you're going to know his name probably a couple years from now. But him and Omar Marmoush have been absolutely phenomenal for Eintracht Frankfurt. So I just, the whole Bundesliga thing, I just wonder, is it a flash in the pan? But why does it have to be? Right? Xabi Alonso's there. He's a young boss. He still needs to cut his teeth some. Don't leave too early. You have an academy director at first, then technical director, and now he's the manager of all sport in Simon Rolfs. You have a great working scenario. You do have a team that I, for some reason, just misread, thinking that they had won back in 2010, 2011. They were runner-ups. They've been runner-ups 5 times in the Bundesliga. They're hungry to win something. Hell, I don't even think they've won a DFB Pokal. They haven't won a cup in 30-plus years.
30 years.
It's impressive. You have the seeds of something. I really wish they would just stick around and water those seeds. Let's just see where this goes before you move on. Just stay back. Just listen, Xabi.
When you have Bayern,
I know.
It's very hard to tempt. And I do growingly believe Xabi Alonso will be going to Bayern Munich instead of Liverpool because going to Bayern Munich is less of a risk than going to the Premier League straight away. Okay, he's going to be a Champions League contender every season he plays, and he can sign a Frimpong. He can sign a Boniface. Who knows when Harry Kane leaves one day. But okay, so we mentioned La Liga, Premier League, Serie A. Who was the signing of the season in Serie A, Breton?
Oh, my goodness. I really want to say an AC Milan player. I really do.
Reinders deserves to be in that conversation, though.
Christian Pulisic. Pulisic also has 10 goals. Ruben Loftus-Cheek deserves a massive shout-out. He's got 8 goals this season for them. But I have to go with just how dominant, how good Inter has been. They wouldn't be as dominant as they are. Lautaro would not have the strike partner that he needs or the support that he needs. And the financial metrics behind it make sense that it is, for me, Marcus Thuram. Definitely.
Marcus Thuram. I think it deserves to be in that conversation, Marcus Thuram. I agree with that. Well, Marcus Thuram is one of the catalysts towards Inter having 6. Inter Milan is 16 points ahead of their second place in Serie A. Inter will win the Scudetto. Inter is still in the Champions League. And Inter has scored 70 goals and conceded 13. That is mad. They're leading with Arsenal, goals scored 70, and they're the less conceded team in the top 5 leagues. Inter de Milan. I'd say Reinders, Marcus Thuram, but for me, the signing of the season in Serie A, it's a bold shout, but it's Jan Sommer. Jan Sommer is 10 games away. No, Jan Sommer right now, this season, 10 games away of finishing. He's equaled already Handanovic and Julius Caesar's best season in terms of clean sheets. 70 clean sheets. Crazy. For the amount that Jan Sommer has cost, for the efficiency that he's shown, this is a top signing and a legend for Switzerland too. Jan Sommer. And they're going to get Zielinski and Taremi next season. Mad.
Just a little sidebar here. Jan Sommer, great shout. But like Alessandro Bastoni, top 5 center back, best center back in Italy. Top 5 top 5 center top 5 center back in the world right now.
Bastoni?
Yeah. I mean, he's so good. I don't know if you
in terms of left-footed center backs, I put him top 3, no doubt in my mind. There's no left-footed center back that is as physical as he is, and with the passing distribution, passing quality that he shows. Whoever signs him, Inter will ask more than 80 million. I have no doubt in what I'm saying.
And how? And he was this way last season. Right? He was this way last season, and nobody decided to break the bank for him. You went after Kim Min-jae, understandably, but he's young, he's good, and it was just insane to see. I mean, this was a must-watch game. It was Bologna, Thiago Motta's Bologna versus Inter, and it was his left foot that didn't put them in the lead, but he delivered the cross that was actually put away by his center back partner, Jan Bisek, who is another kind of shrewd signing for Inter Milan. But they avenged a Coppa Italia loss. But the insanity of this, you mentioned how good Inter has been. They have now won 13 Serie A games in a row. They've won 14 of their last 15, with the only game they didn't win being just a draw, so 15-game unbeaten win. 10 of those wins, as you mentioned with Jan Sommer, 10 of those wins of their last 14 have been clean sheets. They have conceded just six goals in the last 15 games, and now they get to go to the Wanda Metropolitano and face a weird Griezmann-less, Atletico Madrid that just lost 3 La Liga games in a row. It's going weird over there. I don't know what's going on. But they don't look good. So I am going to say it. I increasingly think that Inter should be treated as Champions League favorites.
Ooh, and whoever doesn't treat them as Champions League favorites, in my opinion, they don't know ball. So you put Inter ahead of Arsenal.
Yeah, I do.
And ahead of Bayern.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Inter the only that would be a great game. That would be a great game.
It's pretty crazy though that you're looking at the two finalists of last season's Champions League are obviously playing still very good, taking levels up in my opinion.
And Leverkusen was a semi-finalist, and they're still in it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
going on, man.
Good management has been shown in this season, in my opinion. The future managers of Thiago Motta, Ruben Amorim, Xabi Alonso. Whoever signs one of these three managers, in my view, will have a team that can build foundations towards winning a Premier League, winning a Serie A, winning a La Liga, because they have the foundations in terms of tactics and human behaviors inside the locker room. Ruben, Xabi, and Thiago Motta are very good inside the locker room. They know what the players feel. They know what the players need. And they know what their tactic needs. Fundamentals. I love those three. But now, 5th place. I want to mention the Portuguese league because I'm Portuguese. Sure. I live here in Portugal. The best signing in the Portuguese league, no doubt in my mind, is Victor Gyökeres. Gyökeres is one of the most immediate impact signings I've ever seen in the Portuguese league. More than 30 goals scored and more than 10 assists in his first season. Mad how no one signed him from the championship with Coventry. He is worth that 100 million release clause, and I want to see which London team is going to pay for that price.
Seriously. It's just bonkers. It's bonkers that he was playing for the same team that, Haji Wright is currently playing for, and Ellis Sims are scoring goals left and right for Coventry City. But somebody literally watched a Coventry City game and said, this man's got 35 goal involvements or whatever it is right now at a high level in him. So kudos to whoever it was on that scouting team.
Gyökeres is the best signing in the Portuguese league, but then you have Morten Hulmand that is managing to put high levels in the Sporting team that previously in CDM they've had Ugarte and they've had Palhinha, and another player I really want to mention in the best signings in the Portuguese league is Alain Varela and Trubin. Top 2 goalkeepers in the Portuguese league next to Diogo Costa, but Alain Varela's game against Arsenal, I'm sure Premier League teams were sawing. I'm sure.
I'm with you there. Yep.
So you agree with me with the Portuguese league? What leagues do you have more? Liga?
The funny thing is a lot of money was spent in Ligue 1, in terms of bringing in Ugarte, but I don't know. Like, would you call 95 million for Kolo Muani
The signing of the
good
season.
business?
No.
Even Dembele at 50 million, I really don't like it. Ugarte at 60, I think, is the closest thing I've got to really like levels. But I really, there's nothing that stands out as like definites here for me. Why is it not?
Well,
Give
maybe a
me
Beraldo. I think Beraldo
Beraldo? Okay.
is going to be one of the best center backs in Liga. You have Leaue, you have many talented players, but Lucas Beraldo for 20 million off São Paulo. This is a player I believe will be playing in the Brazil national team. This is a player that I believe can show his best form in a Champions League game that a Marquinhos would need help. So I completely think Beraldo is definitely one of the signings of Liga on this season. No doubt.
The only reason I wouldn't have said that is just simply because it's a smaller sample size. But you're right; he's looked class. But there are so many, again, just like La Liga, there are so many that I would have expected would have worked out that did not work out, and I think that's more the story in Ligue 1. Like Enzo Lefebvre at Stade Rennais has not worked out. Right? I'm shocked. Tara Moffi with Nice's defense and with all the support that they've got in that lineup. Hasn't really worked out. Kang Lee has been good in some respects, but not great. 30 million for Valérien Balogun I thought was going to turn out much better for AS Monaco. It has not necessarily worked out very well. Now, he's still young, and it could happen. So I think the story in Ligue 1 is more like what didn't work out than what did. I think there should be a little bit of a shout-out to Marseille, especially considering all the managerial turmoil that they've had. But Iliman Ndiaye and who is it? Ismail Assar coming in from like Watford. They've been pretty decent for Marseille. And Marseille, bought a lot of new players this past season. But what's really interesting is all the players for Strasbourg now as Chelsea in the East or Chelsea in beautiful I don't know if you've ever been to Alsace, but Strasbourg.
But I've seen the videos in Christmas time. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous, man. It makes me just want to listen to French Christmas music all the time. But anyway, to be there, you would expect some of those signings to pop, and none of them really have. Angelo Gabriel's had a tough time. Right now, we haven't even seen Andre Santos yet. So it's going to be interesting. I didn't want to spend this much time on it.
You have Beraldo and you have Thiago Santos of Lille, one of the best right backs, young right backs in Ligue 1 too.
He was this offseason, was he? Yeah, that's a great signing, actually. I think I'd actually put him over Beraldo because he's got more of a season in him. The only other one I'd say is Wilfried Singo has been decent for Monaco, but that's it, man.
Let's wait and see what the people are going to say in the comment section. Let us know who are the best signings in each of these leagues. And if you're listening until now, don't forget to like this video here at FC Wonderkid. Now, England must be favorites towards winning the Euros, Bretson. The midfield talent that England has is ridiculous, and the list of under 25 players for England is insane. You have Saka, Jude, Foden, Maino, Anthony Gordon, Levi Colville, Rico Lewis, Sancho, Reece James, Cole Palmer, Jared Brathwaite, Harvey Elliott, and Curtis Jones. Then you have a Livramento, and then even a Jacob Ramsey. And I know I'm not mentioning a James Trafford. I'm not mentioning a lot of these players. England is stacked. And if they don't win the Euros, you got to sack Southgate. I'm going to repeat that. It has to be the case.
Yep. And there's a lot of people that feel that this 11 they can't win because of Gareth Southgate.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people that feel that way.
And one thing that I wanted to tell you, Bretson, for me, it's mad for what we see in the English national team players. For me, it's mad that we've never seen a team with Kane up front. We've never seen Saka, Jude, Foden, and then at the back, Stones and Rice in midfield. Why haven't we seen a team like this? Why haven't we seen a test like this? We got to see Kobe Maino to be called up. And these types of tactics, these types of teams being tested out in these friendlies. Where are you going to test them? In the Euros? That cannot be the case.
Yeah.
That cannot be the case.
And that is the issue here. I mean, I see a very, very real problem for England's 11. And it's the left side. What do you do?
Shaw?
Who do you got there? Well, is he ever healthy?
Livramento?
No, not on the left side. I can't see him necessarily doing as well as like a Trippier could do on the left side, but I don't know. I mean, even Trippier's had his injuries. So and then the left wing. Yeah, who are you playing? Are you playing Phil Foden at left wing? Or are you playing Phil
Rashford?
Foden where he would likely excel? It's probably Rashford.
Mm.
You're right. Or is it Anthony Gordon? Or is it Raheem Sterling or Jack Grealish? But Jack Grealish is
Would
injured.
you call Anthony Gordon ahead of Jack Grealish for the Euros?
Based on current like form and trust shown in Grealish, I would say Anthony Gordon's the better pick.
Bold. And Jack Grealish, I don't know if he's going to stay in Man City because I don't see him playing too much with Guardiola. 100 million signing. It's a bold case. And in goalkeepers too. I went to go see the Rangers against Benfica, and I saw Jack Butland being very safe at goalkeeper. It's really good. Pickford, I think, is going to be the number one for England. But having Jack Butland, Nick Pope, Ramsdale, that's great options. And even a James Trafford and all this too.
Yeah, well, Alex, Jack Butland, that's because he's done it on a rainy Tuesday night in Stoke City. So, you got that in the bag.
True.
Yeah, not again, exactly. But I'm really curious, Alex, like playing the way that they've played. I love the Stones shout in midfield. Because otherwise, I don't know how you fit him in here. I almost want Walker. It really depends on the opponent, right?
Agree.
I almost want Walker at center back with Harry Maguire
right
at times.
Well,
but John Stones is definitely going to be center back. I don't even have him in here.
But and Ben White? Ben White should be called up for the Euros. I don't know what happened between Ben White and Southgate in the summer in the World Cup. In the World Cup. I don't know, but Ben White deserves the call-up for the Euros. Ben White can play center back, can play right back. A lot of people unfairly judged Ben White at the start, and now he's proving to be a key player for Arsenal. 2 assists last weekend. Key.
Yeah.
I'd put Ben White there. I'd put Ben White there.
All right, you want to hear? You would? Okay. You'd put White in the starting 11 or what?
Well, if he's called up, I would 100% call him to the Euros. I wouldn't start him. No, sorry. Rephrase.
Okay. All right. So I'll run through my 11 really quickly for you. Ready? You tell me what you don't like about this. I bet you were pretty close on it though. But goalkeeper Jordan Pickford, left back Luke Shaw, but with all the injuries, that's a wild card for me. Center back, you've got a pairing of Maguire and Stones. Right back is Kyle Walker. Walker when there's like a really, really strong left winger, fine. But Alexander-Arnold when they're dealing with like a low block, sure. And then in midfield, obviously this is the forte. If this gets broken down, they're not winning Euros. It's Rice, Jude, and Phil Foden would be great to play in those seams, right? And then up top, I really don't know, but I do have Rashford here. That's the question mark for me. And then it's Harry Kane and it's Bukayo Saka. I mean, that's non-negotiable for me.
Maybe put Foden at the left wing and put John Stones or Maino instead of where you have them. Yeah, I'd maybe do that. Because Foden, I do agree with you that his best position is behind the striker in middle, where he has the freedom to roam. But I don't know if Southgate's thinking like that.
He probably isn't.
I'm a big skeptical in the thought process that he has. But one thing's for sure, and I think it benefits England, this situation that I'm going to talk about. Harry Kane most possibly will be trophyless this season. Undoubtedly, Harry Kane's a world-class player. Undoubtedly, he's one of the best strikers, too, in the world. He might not end trophyless this season if England win the Euros. And if he does just that, people will forget the poor trophyless season of Bayern Munich. I know he had in real goals, but he needs the silverware. He needs to start proving himself next to the big names with Bundesliga titles and Champions League titles. I think it's
Alex,
unfortunate.
I'm here to say that trolls on Twitter remember everything. So he will still hear about it, even if they do win the Euros. It's just whether or not he gives a, flying whatever. But I those people that are painting England as like, they're definitely a favorite, one of the favorites, right? But France, man.
And Portugal. Come on, Brenton. Come on.
And Portugal, but I just got to go through this pretty quickly. I mean, there's also a lot of depth here. They also have their holes, right? Giroud's not getting any younger, but he's playing really well. But goalkeeper Mike Maignan, left back Theo, center backs Konate, Saliba, but you could have Upamecano, Koundé, Lucas. Right back Benjamin Pavard. There's flexibility there as well. And their midfield is like a Chouameni, Camavinga, Griezmann. Is what we're looking at, probably. And then you've got up top Mbappe, Giroud, and Dembele, I guess, on the right side. Coleman, if he's healthy, Thuram, Olise, do you think he'll get called up?
I think
Colomwani
will get importance in this Euro 2024. No, I agree. And I see a lot of England fans saying that they're no doubt the favorites towards winning the Euros. Look, I am reluctant towards saying that, but I do believe England are first place because of the form of these players. Jude, Declan, and Kane were all 100 million signings and all proven to be world-class players. But I think France and Portugal are also a top 3 contender against England. They've got better managers than Southgate, no doubt, Deschamps and Roberto Martinez. So let's wait and see what are the variables that gonna make it happen. If Gareth Southgate doesn't win the Euros and if Gareth Southgate doesn't win Euro 2024 with England, I completely believe there's going to be a replacement for this England national team. And stop with the nonsense that Radcliffe wants Southgate. No, no, no. Southgate is not going to Man United. Southgate doesn't have that level. And it's quite poor that an England manager, undoubtedly, we all can say safely, he wouldn't be the manager of Chelsea, Man United, Man City, because the quality in the Premier League is much higher right now. Much higher. Yeah. So they got to solve that issue, in my point of view. And he's not going to Man United, no doubt, people. I think Graham Potter could replace Gareth Southgate in this English national team. Graham Potter has been very quiet since his sacking at Chelsea.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's got a lot of time to reflect there, Alex.
It's true.
But yeah, if Southgate goes to United, I don't really want to watch United. I think there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there that would probably say the exact same thing.
I agree.
But that's really interesting. So for you, there is no room for, say, Trent Alexander-Arnold in a midfield.
There should be room. There should be room, especially if you're playing against a top team. You need pinpoint passes. I do think a Trent Alexander should be in that conversation. Yes,
but not a bona fide starter here, right?
Not a bona fide starter because Southgate doesn't play the tactics the Jurgen Klopp plays for a Trent Alexander-Arnold. Just like he doesn't play the tactics for a John Stones. Just like he doesn't play the tactics for a Phil Foden. He just doesn't do it. He trusts his philosophy, but I don't. Harry Kane, 34 games, 34 goals, and 8 assists, though. Mad.
Yeah, and I wonder if Southgate has the cojones to call up like a Jared Branthwaite, or some of these younger guys. I mean, or how he would use, say, like a Cole Palmer. But I'm just confident.
Is a bold shout for him to call up. If Southgate calls up Kobe Maino, I'm loving it because that is a wonder kid, a youngster that can win Player of the Tournament. And obviously, I'm not counting Jude Bellingham as a youngster. Even though he's 20, Kobe Maino got awarded this month the best Premier League goal. This month, Kobe Maino. And that's why he's getting a key extension. And that is why he's the youngest player ever to get that award too. Quality.
Well, good stuff.
Potential.
All right, well.
Let us know down below what you agree, what you disagree about our England lineup, and what changes would you do. Does Southgate stay or does he not? Like this video. Wonderkids now. We wanted to mention Wonderkids that are informed. And at the end of this podcast, we thought it would be the best way to end it. So, who is the first highlight that you want to do, Bretson, of Wonderkids?
Listen, George Elenakena. It's a wonderful name. George Elenakena. He is 17 years old, plays for Royal Antwerp, who are, if I'm not mistaken, they are the reigning champions, right? In Belgium. But he was bought from Amiens in League 2. Didn't know top tier football until he went to Belgium in the Pro League at 16 years old. And he now is up to, oh my gosh, I think he's up to 8 goals in the Pro League. I think he's up to like a goal every 100 minutes that he plays as a 17-year-old, big 9 candidate, pure 9 type of candidate, and somebody that the French national team has already brought into youth national teams alongside as Warren Zaire-Emery was going up the pecking order. George Elenakena should be getting more attention, but I will throw out there for people that might not know his name. He was also born in Nigeria. So I don't know if Nigeria needs more strikers. They've got plenty of functional ones, very good ones. Yeah. But he was born there. I believe he was born in Lagos. But Elenakena is going to be one you got to watch this off season because there's no doubt people will open the pocketbooks for him. He was only signed, if I'm not mistaken, for like 6 million euros. So they signed him as a 16-year-old. He made his League debut at just after turning 16, and he has been an absolute light for Royal Antwerp. So if you're looking for another striker or another great attacker coming out of the Pro League beyond Bilal El Khanous, who's a little bit older than this guy, you need to look at Georgia Lenakena. And this is the same club that has been developed Arthur Vermeeren. They've got another center back, Zeno Vandenbosch, who I think you're going to want to pay attention to in the future, who's broken into the 11 right now. But Royal Antwerp, man, they're turning into like another Anderlecht, another, why am I forgetting? Club Brugge, Standard Liège in the past. Maybe they're supplanting Standard Liège as the next talent factory, or one of the top 3 talent factories in all of Belgium. So,
or Saint-Gilloise in all this, that now with the same owner as Brighton, that's been Tony Bloom. He's been doing a fantastic job. Starting with an underrated wonderkid on my end, Porto's best academy star is a 16-year-old that is the youngest debutant ever in Portuguese leagues. It's Rodrigo More. 16 goals scored. Physically, he's not the biggest player, but technically, we all know this story. We all know these types of players that are absolutely beautiful to watch. 4 goals, 2 assists this season. Rodrigo More, 16 right now, but don't be surprised if next season he's already at the Porto first team. That's the level and the expectation and the talent that I see with Rodrigo More. Under 17 Portuguese team. Portuguese players still. So don't be surprised once he breaks to this first team of Porto.
Wow. What am I? Oh, wow. He was great in the youth league. That's why I know the name. Yeah. Five goals and
3 assists.
5 goals in 7 games there. Yeah, that's great. Does he remind you what's different between him and a Fabio Silva?
Well, one's a striker, and Rodrigo More plays behind the striker. I think Rodrigo More, in terms of vision, in terms of dribbling, in terms of actual quality and technique, he's one of the top players I've ever seen in academy football in Portugal. I remember seeing him play at 15 for Porto B, and I was shocked with the level that he was showing. And people need to understand, he's 16. Physically, he will grow to that player. He's not that right now. So the fact that we're seeing an ascension in Porto's B squad is absolutely mad in my view. Rodrigo More. Remember the name of it.
I assumed he was a striker simply because he had 5 goals in 7 games in the youth league. But wow, that's awesome. And you're saying he just debuted for Porto Bay. Wow.
No. He debuted last season at 15. He's the youngest debutant ever in the Portuguese league, and he debuted at 15. Now he's a starter at 16. He doesn't play every single game because he's 16 and he has low fatigue still compared to what he's going to have in 2 years. But he's instrumental, and he scored a match winner this weekend.
Fair enough. Well, that's good. All right. Well, my next one, everybody since Jude Bellingham was signed from Birmingham City to Borussia Dortmund, and then obviously has ascended to Real Madrid. They've been looking for another championship star, somebody that's never stepped foot in the Premier League. I'm probably here to say that I don't think this person is the next Jude Bellingham, and we probably shouldn't be looking for the next Jude Bellingham. But he likely is the next person to ascend. He's definitely a wonder kid of championship quality, maybe even Premier League quality. Like Alex Scott, exactly. But I think he's got a higher ceiling than Alex Scott, especially with the discipline he's learning right now. I am talking about 17-year-old Archie Gray, generally a midfielder, but he's part of the Gray family that comes from Leeds United. His father played for Leeds United. His grandfather played for Leeds United. I specifically love those types of stories. But you look at Leeds United, and they've kept like a lot of their Premier League team or a Premier League caliber team intact, along with Leicester City and some others, and they're fighting their way back. I have a feeling they're going to get promoted this year, but a big reason is because Archie Gray, from when he was 16 to when he was 17 now, has gone from being a midfield candidate to literally filling in at right back to becoming the bona fide starter at right back, now with 36 starts for Leeds United this season, as they chase promotion again. And it's really allowed him to learn more defensive awareness, and just be a player that either will ascend with Leeds United again or will definitely get picked up. Bournemouth would be another nice next step for him. Or there are plenty of other clubs that would likely take a flyer on him. But based on how indispensable he's been out of his preferred position,
Mhm.
you got to give a little love to a 17-year-old, chasing promotion in the championship.
Well
So we'll
said.
see.
Well
See what happens
said.
with him.
And since
Yeah,
we're in the 17 category, I'm gonna call.
yeah.
I'm gonna name a player that is playing in one of the top teams in Europe and is 17 too.
Mm.
Pau
Okay.
Cubarsí must start for
Mm.
Barca and must start for the Spanish national team maybe in the Euros. At 17, I'm
Yeah.
saying this. Why am I saying
Bonkers.
this? In terms of passing ability, I say it confidently. He's one of the best center backs in La Liga in terms of passing. He understands the ways of La Masia. He understands how Xavi wants to play. And in a season in which it's ups and downs, Pau Cubarsí has been a consistent factor of stability in this team. If you don't know about him, you must know now. Pau Cubarsí versus Leaue will be a real thing when Leaue goes to Real Madrid and when Pau Cubarsí gets more playing time, because they both have world-class potential, and one will start for Spain and the other one will start for France, in my view. It's a bold shout.
Well.
But I wanted to mention, since I'm mentioning Barca, Lamine Yamal, 200 million to PSG. Fake news, people. He's going to stay at Barca. He's going to become a legend at Barca because at 16, born in 2007, he's got 4 goals this season and 6 assists in La Liga. He's the youngest to ever do so in the history of football. These types
Match
of numbers.
winner.
Match winner.
Match winner
And
over
not
the
any
weekend.
match
Yeah.
winner. A match winner in which you need to show technique, shooting, confidence, all the factors. And he already had it, and he already has it at 16. Matt.
3 goals, 3 assists in his last 4 games. 4
Hey.
La Liga games for them. That's 16 years
That's a
old.
starter.
You know my issue there is like this is one of the world's most famous teams. Literally
Your issue is
got
you
a
don't want it to
16-year-old
happen
and
to
a.
Pedri.
I know. I don't. He's under a microscope from here on out, physically and skeptically and all that stuff. I protect this man, this kid, not a man. Protect this kid,
For sure.
please, because he is. He's a Kabarsi too, but like Lamine Yamal is just a generational talent in the making.
And younger than Cubarsí.
And he's it's crazy. He's just so pleasing to watch. A lot of people say that in the modern game, that the identity, what am I trying to say? The originality, right? The identity has been kind of busted out of it, right? The excitement, the flair. Everybody's just in a structured kind of whatever. Lamine Yamal Lamine Yamal like breaks that, right?
True.
And if he can do this for 15 years, and without the injuries that Pedri and Gavi have unfortunately undergone, I'll be very, very happy. All I want to do is see him succeed, but just protect him a little more. Come on, Xavi. You got this.
Protect them. And all the Barca fans are now saying we should have Xavi Simons and Daniel Olmo in our teams. So I wanted to give a credit to whoever signed them and took them off La Masia, because those are 2 top talents. Xavi Simons, I fully believe he will win one day that Champions League. He only has 8 Champions League appearances until now. Only 2 goals, 2 assists, but I'm sure he's going to work a lot more towards winning that Champions League with PSG. And 11 games for the Netherlands.
Pretty dang good when you look like the best player in amidst playing on a field amidst one of the best midfields on the planet right now, if not the best midfield on the planet right now. Xavi Simons looked so good. I was sad for Leipzig not to get what they wanted out of that game, because they were the better player, the better team for a good portion of that game.
You're saying better
opinion.
player too. Better player
Yeah.
in every single game that he plays, as it seems, is João Neves. In the Portuguese league, only Gyökeres is ahead of him, in my point of view. João Neves right now, in all European competitions, counting Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League, he's the player with the highest duels won and the highest in tackles at 19 years of age. And don't judge João Neves because of his stature, physical stature. Judge for what he does on the pitch with the ball. Intensity, vision, IQ. This is a player worth the 100 million I see in the news. People may hate what I say in Portuguese bias. They're going to say Portuguese bias. But the only number Benfica are going to accept for João Neves will be above 100 million. This is a player that I fully expect will be in the Portugal national team in the next 10 years. Fully.
Yeah, from one small guy to another small guy. Not you, Alex, but if I was talking to João Neves, he would be the smallest guy ever to receive $100 million.
Enzo's not quite big.
Would he not? No, Enzo's not quite big. He is. I mean, he's at least like average, right? João Neves got to be what, 5'5"?
Yeah, he's not the tallest of players, but
I don't
what he
know.
does
Oh
on the
crap!
pitch,
Right.
he's
Wait.
worth it.
Well, I'm sorry. What do you guys? You guys are like, it's like 1.2 or whatever it is. You use meters and centimeters, right? Okay, yeah. I don't know what that is in that speak. But yeah, that's crazy. 100 million. Well, 200 million's a little. Well, that's insane.
No,
Anyway,
impossible.
last one I wanted to mention really quickly, just to continue that good Big Ange vibe. They're also looking towards the future. And again, you can get all this on following Alex individually online, following FB Wonderkids on X. We're always with the focus on Wonderkids, kind of digging these guys up, tracking them, and posting what they're doing as they rise. So a lot of this, if you follow us, you might have seen this before, but I got to talk about Luka Vuskovic, who is signed, another Spurs signing, and not yet a full-fledged Spurs player. Won't be for a little time. He's on loan in the Ekstraklasa for Radomiak, and I'm probably saying that very, very wrong. But after 2 bad games to start team-wide, not just him, but team-wide, he is turned into what they have signed him for. And shown what they have signed him for, which is he eats up aerial duels. Phenomenal. And that isn't just good on the defense, very good on the defense, but also very helpful on the offense. He has 2 goals in his last 2 games, and he's barely 17, like just turned 17. So with the pre-contract or whatever in place, probably I don't think he's joining Spurs until he's 18. I could be wrong about that, but this is some 17 right now, but like just turned 17. But he had 15 clearances in their last 2 games, and he's somebody that you're definitely going to want to watch his development, because they wouldn't have paid, I think it was 8-9 million for him, to bring him in as somebody. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have Van de Ven, you're going to have maybe Romero in the future. Maybe the expectation is Romero gets sold off in the future, and it becomes Van de Ven and Vuskovic. But it's you could definitely see why Spurs went after him, and it's been a long time since I've seen them kind of rush to sign a foreign young player like that. So it's good scouting, and hopefully it's a sign of things to come for them, while also paying attention to the really good players within their system too, like a Mikey Moore. So we'll see what's happening, but I like what I see from Vuskovic at Radomiak in the Ekstraklasa.
And Vuskovic last season in the UEFA Youth League, in my view, he was the main reason towards Ajax Split going to a final. And he was the best center back in the UEFA Youth League, no doubt in my mind. They hit the money.
Yeah, they did. And Hajduk Split has 2 others in the midfield that are teenagers still. One of them is an American, so of course I'm going to bring his name up, and it's Rokas Pukstas. And then there's also Nico Sigor. And again, I might be butchering their names, but like Hajduk Split, alongside obviously Dinamo Zagreb, are 2 of just like Croatian youth academy factories that anyone obviously that's ever played Football Manager knows exactly what we're talking about. For sure. Vuskovic is one of the best to come out of there, so we'll see what happens.
Another mention with Croatian Wonderkids, Baturina of Dinamo Zagreb. If you follow Croatian football, you gotta know Baturina, that is going to be instrumental, but important in Euro 2024. As you can see from Alex, my voice, it hasn't been the easiest podcast, but it's been done. Yes.
Yeah, let me just close it out for you, because you gotta rest. You gotta rest up. You got things to do, man. Because I also want to share with you this tidbit. I believe Arda Güler just scored his first goal for Real Madrid. So there you go, signing off in style, right? But yeah, I don't know if it was a winner. I don't know what it looked like. It might even get called back before this even gets posted.
Win.
But 4-0 win, is that what it is?
94th minute, and Arda Güler.
Good for him.
Arda Güler and Hendrik will be players that are very important for Real Madrid next season. Don't tell me Brahim Diaz hasn't been important, especially with the absence of Jude Bellingham. He stepped up when Jude Bellingham wasn't there. Expect the same from Hendrik and Arda Güler. Galacticos in the making. But let us know. Do you agree? Do you disagree with a lot of our statements? Don't forget to like this video, and thank you for going bold with us on another episode.